Welcome to the second instalment of Data Discussions with me, Kate McDermott, and my guest today, Precious N.A., co-founder and head of product at CareerEar. Precious is a business management sciences graduate from Birmingham University who has achieved more than most during her first 6 years in industry. Starting out in investment banking, completing multiple internships with the likes of Goldman Sachs and Barclays Investment Bank, she now not only works full-time for LendInvest as their operational and systems change manager, but is also one of the co-founders of CareerEar. And the latter is what brought us together. After I was lucky enough to attend the launch of this machine learning-driven, careers-based platform created to connect minority groups of career seekers and changers to businesses which would never normally have access to these groups. I found the launch event, Precious, and her co-founder Claudine both inspiring and fascinating. I felt compelled to connect with them to try and help them to raise the visibility of CareerEar across my network, and also to learn more about startups and the pain, work, and reward that goes into building a successful business. So Precious, welcome. Thank you for being here.
Thank you for having me.
So really, I just wanted to start off by giving the audience a bit of a flavour as to what CareerEar is all about and the role that you play there.
Cool. So CareerEar is really it's been developing over the years in terms of what we're actually doing. Right now, it's an online platform that allows, as you said, career seekers and changers to really connect with industry. So we do that in multiple ways. So we have the Q&A part of the platform where people can ask questions to industry professionals, and then they can get very specific advice back around those career-related questions. We also have a lot of content that's produced by both the professionals and employers that we engage with, and also community partners. And that content is all industry specific as well. So as a user, career seeker or changer goes through their journey with CareerEar, they're getting really personalized content. So we realized that content wasn't the problem. Like, having all of the information about a career wasn't a problem. It was that there was, one, too much of it, and two, not enough relevance to what you were actually looking for. So what we're doing there with the content is just making sure that we're using specific data tags to make sure that people get the right information that they need. And then we're also working on a project with the Department of Education and Nesta to build out skills assessments. And this is a huge piece we've always really wanted to do, so it's really awesome. So
yeah, that sounds amazing.
Yeah, what that allows people to do is basically get an objective assessment of their skills and particular skills of the future, and then see how those skills could be transferable and relevant to different occupations and job functions within the industry. And in doing that, we also have access to a lot of data around jobs in the job market, so we can start to flag to people where they're either in careers or pursuing careers that are actually at risk of automation, which is a huge problem that no one really talks about because people just aren't aware. So hopefully we're able to get that message across to people and educate people on that in a really effective way.
Yeah, because I remember thinking this actually when I came to the launch, the extent, as far as I was aware when I was at school, in terms of the career advice that I had access to was from my teachers. There was nothing that was personalised, and I doubt that they had the awareness or the depth of knowledge as to what was out there and what was available to you. It was so prescriptive, wasn't it?
Yeah, exactly.
And actually, this is kind of what we do, as recruitment consultants, is we try to think laterally about how people's skills are transferable, and we advise, but we can obviously only do that on a certain scale. So this is almost, is there anything else like this out there at the moment at all for people?
There are bits of it. So there's nothing that does it all together in the way and on the journey that we're creating for our users. You have sites like Prospects AC, which gives you all of the career information you could ever think of, which again can be a bit overwhelming if you don't really know what you're looking for. And then there are also other like mentorship sites out there where you can get a mentor, but again, it's very time consuming for both parties because you're kind of linked and stuck with someone, for lack of a and then there's also, you know, different types of skills assessments out there. Most of them are personality tests though, or personality based. So they don't actually test what your skills are, and they don't give you an objective assessment of what your skills actually are. And in a lot of research that both us and Nesta have been doing, it's about, one, how do you define a skill, because everyone defines it differently, but two, how do you make sure that people actually know what those skills are and know how those skills can be used, because a lot of people have a lot of skills, they just don't necessarily connect the two things to say, okay, this skill means I could actually start exploring this type of job, which they never would have thought of before.
So does this cover both kind of soft and hard skills, you know, softer competencies in terms of, I think again this was touched on at the launch event, that you know, communication style and the ability to build relationships and rapport and high levels of emotional intelligence? Does it cover that kind of thing as well as kind of really hard technical skills, for example?
Yeah, so our skills assessments focus on the core soft skills. So we've grouped those, and that's really important, because most of those soft skills, you need the majority of them to succeed in any job. So we're on a bit of a branding exercise to get those branded as like skills of the future, because everyone needs those things. But then there's also exploration tools that help you explore both those soft skills and the hard, you know, technical skills. The two are very, very separate. And we're still on a journey to figure out exactly how we make those things work together in a better way. It's a really, really hard challenge.
It's hard enough to find those skills married together in an individual, you know, particularly the roles that I recruit. It's very often the brief is we need someone who's a great communicator, business facing, but also they need to be an advanced, you know, Python developer or analyst, or, you know. So it's, being able to actually on paper, I suppose, define them and measure them, even more difficult. But it's great to hear that it's in the works, because I feel really passionately about the importance of softer skills, and they're really overlooked, I think. You know, you can build a career on having, you know, that ability to, as I say, build relationships and rapport with people, and having a high level of emotional intelligence. There are so many options out there for people, and I just think they don't realise. So that's brilliant to hear. And what about you? What's your role within the business at the moment? What are you responsible for?
So I am head of product. So that means I look after everything technology based and product based. So from thinking about our UX design, to thinking about our customer journeys, to thinking about, you know, which tech, you know, products we should use from AWS to and everything in between. So I work closely with Claudine and our developers, and of course our users, to come up with, you know, what tools and features should we be building next to really help them in their journey. And then also thinking about what data is out there that we can connect to using APIs to bring into our ecosystem. But how can we use that data in a really effective way? Because there are examples of, you know, having a lot of data doesn't always mean anything if it's not working for the user. So that's a huge part of what I do.
Excellent. Great. And so from Career's perspective then, I mean, what kind of challenges have you faced, I suppose, in getting it to where it is today?
There's been quite a few challenges. So the first product we built, I say product very loosely, was the worst mobile app you can imagine. And it really started from the idea of just us wanting to ask people lots of questions and not having a way to do that. So we built an app that you could ask a question, tag the industry, and then it would send a notification to someone on the platform. And that was great, because we had a product, and we, you know, that's how Career Ear was born. But the challenge then became, one, we didn't really know much back then about building technology, so it was just awful. Two, we had all of these customers and users who were expecting lots of stuff from us, and we couldn't deliver it in a mobile app. So one of the main challenges was deprecating that mobile app, figuring out a way to save the data that we had from like all of our users, because that database was a NoSQL database, and we wanted to move to a SQL database. So there was some data transformation we had to figure out how to do, and really going from a mobile app to a web app, and coming up with a whole new design and a whole new kind of concept for the business, really. That's probably one of the biggest challenges we've had to date. And as a young kind of product manager, I found that really, really challenging, just because at that time I had no idea about data and all the challenges that I had. And I was like, I don't know what the difference between a SQL and NoSQL data. Why is this so hard? Yeah, that was one of the huge challenges that we faced. Another one is just having the time to really pay attention to our community. So engaging with our users and making sure that we're involving them in the conversations was really, really difficult to do at first. And learning, you know, we've learned the hard way on a few things where we've built a feature and it just hasn't taken off because we don't speak to people enough about it. So we have to go back to the drawing board, and it means time and money and effort wasted.
Yeah.
But of course, you learn from all of those mistakes. So yeah, there's been a lot of mistakes along the way. They've all been really, really great learning experiences, and have meant that we, you know, have got to where we are today. Even down to doing things like the website. As a small business, we don't have the funds to always pay someone to do the website. So I'm in charge of doing the website, and I know nothing about building websites. But if you look at the progression of the website over the years, it's looking a lot better. And we actually just launched a new website as well.
Oh, fantastic.
Yeah, please go and check it out. It looks a lot cleaner and smoother now.
I was looking for it earlier, actually. Yeah, it does look great.
Yeah, so you can see the progression and the learning, both in us and the maturity of our product. And that, I think that's really, really great for our users to see as well, because they really see the journey that we're going through.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, it's totally admirable, and you know, those kind of skills I'm sure will serve you for life. But yeah, I mean, I'm interested in terms of the business as it stands at the moment, and the people that you have and the skills that you have within the business. Were the people that you first brought in, beyond yourself and Claudine, data experts? You mentioned developers earlier. Yeah, I'm really interested to know what key skills you think are important for a startup like Career that is based on, you know, data fundamentally, I suppose. What kind of skills do you go to first?
So this was a challenge that we faced as well, in terms of we needed so many external skills that me and Claudine just didn't have. It was about prioritizing which ones we addressed first, and the first thing for us was really the developers, and making sure we had a solid team of developers rather than kind of data scientists, really, just because the foundations needed to be so strong, and the back-end architecture and all of that stuff needed to be able to cope with anything that we wanted to do in future, you know. The idea that we wanted to build a system with microservices, that needed to be quite solid as well. And we were lucky enough to be on an accelerator program with, I think it was We in Social Tech, and they actually gave us a mentor, and we were lucky enough to get a director at Deutsche Bank who was a technology director, and he was amazing at kind of both coding and development, but also the data side. So he helped us a lot in terms of fleshing out our ideas and understanding different pieces of what we wanted to do. And then we also were fortunate enough to get onto the Career Tech Challenge Prize with Nesta, where we've had, you know, eons of support around the data side. So we didn't really need to get in our own data specialist for a very long time, because we had so much external help. But then as soon as we wanted to start building, we definitely had to had to get a data engineer in, and now we've got an amazing backend developer, a Python developer, and data scientist Philip on the team, and he's just an absolute genius. Like yeah, words cannot describe.
Fantastic.
Yeah, so great having him. Yeah, so we didn't need to get in a data specialist for a long time. We have now, and it's, I think we did it in the right order.
Yeah. Well, it's just great advice for anybody who's starting out, you know, to know what resources are available to you beyond, you know, a very transactional hire. And I appreciate, you know, money is very important in these situations. And yeah, if you can get that external support for free, or, you know, on a sponsorship, then that's brilliant. But and especially at those levels as well, you've not just got potentially the hardcore, you know, technical expertise, but the broader business knowledge as well. Yeah, I appreciate it. It's a journey. Okay, so in terms of particularly for undergraduates or even postgrads, you know, I do get a lot of approaches from kind of younger people trying to figure out a direction, which I know at the moment with the current situation is going to be even more difficult. But in your experience, you know, what kind of data skills do you think are in this day and age important for undergrads or graduates to focus on developing if they want a career in kind of data, you know, analytics or data science or data engineering?
I think it's really, really important to just start with the basics. So understanding kind of database architecture, right? And knowing the different types of technology that are out there. So it's a very, very different world to 5-10 years ago, where you just needed to be kind of an absolute genius to get this stuff, right? You have lots of tools out there, especially on AWS. You also have a lot of tools like Ultrix, and Data Robot and things like that, which allow you to use these tools to perform quite technical jobs without really needing to know the hardcore parts of, you know,
mathematical theory and
of data engineering. So knowing the basics will get you far enough that you can start tinkering with these tools. And so I think if you start there, then you should be fine, because it's like basic data literacy, right?
Yeah.
And there are a lot of courses out there that you can do, free ones, paid ones.
Yeah.
We were looking at, so last year we went to Web Summit, and we spoke to loads and loads of different companies, and most of them were looking for, you know, data people. And so we started thinking about, right, how could we help tackle this issue? And so we started having lots of conversations around data, and we realized that a lot of companies want people who are able to hit the ground running. So just starting with those basics, with those tools that are out there, start doing your own projects, and then you can start building your own like portfolio. To then take into these companies to prove like, hey, I can handle these projects because I've done them myself. No matter how small they are, I think that's the best thing that you can really do. I
totally agree. That's what makes any kind of candidate stand out at a more junior level is if they've been proactive enough, as you say, to go and get involved in Kaggle competitions, or they might be doing some free work for a business. You know, as you say, it's just being proactive, self-learning. So many of these tools are currently free. You know, it's a case of taking advantage of that. Does Career particularly focus on one skill area? Is it data, or are you looking to, I presume you're looking to help people with any kind of skill set?
Yeah, so we're not focused on any particular industries at the moment. So it's very, very broad right now. But we do have a lot of users who are trying to get into the data space, the finance space, and just tech in general. So, and as a tech company, we're always kind of active in that space anyway. But yeah, it's not limited to those areas.
And I suppose in your experience so far as well, in talking to end employers in particular, I'm thinking about, you know, younger students, people that perhaps don't have access to higher level education, degree level, for example, is so expensive these days. Do you think there is genuine there's a genuine reception from organisations to take on board people that perhaps aren't educated to that level in the tech and data space, but who perhaps, as you say, have built their own portfolio, have demonstrated strong kind of learning capabilities, good work ethic? Do you think there's a genuine reception there from employers to bring people?
100%. So we've had so many good conversations with companies, and with really large companies as well. The likes of Booking.com, who are one of the most biggest data employers in Europe. They're really, really open to hiring junior people, and especially people that don't have degrees, because with engineering specifically, it's not really necessarily the degree that determines how good you're going to be at that level. And in most tech roles, actually, so even with being a product manager or business analyst, or a designer, these are practical skills that you need rather than theory. And it's the same with data engineering and normal software engineering. They're always open to seeing candidates who are really, really proactive. And again, their main worry is that they're not going to have the managerial resource to kind of mentor those younger candidates. So if they're seeing a candidate who's already been really proactive, who has already shown that they're capable and they have the confidence that they will hit the ground running, then they're definitely more than happy to have those types of candidates.
It's fascinating because I don't tend to do personally so much in engineering. My colleague covers that side of it, but I think certainly in data science and analytics for the whole of my career, there has been a perception, and this may just be true, that you need that theoretical mathematical learning and understanding to be the best data scientist or analyst out there. It's great to hear from the technology perspective, engineering side of things, that perhaps isn't quite as important. But I have spoken to a few people in the last year or so that have said, I'm not interested really in where they studied or what result they got. It's what can they do now, and what's the work, as you say, the work ethic, the approach, the ability to learn quickly, the ability to be independent and a self-starter. And I think there is definitely an opportunity for a re-education within the employment market around this snobbery, really, around where did you study and what degree mark did you get. And unfortunately it filters to us because we it might not be very specifically briefed as that, but those are the candidates that tend to get the most attention. And ultimately our job is and our intent is to find the best person for the job. But to be honest, actually more and more recently, particularly over lockdown, when we've been working super closely with clients because we've had fewer of them, we've had better relationships and more influence and more trust, I think, than ever before. And so it is an opportunity for us as well as suppliers to start to talk to clients about the talent that is available at the more junior end, and actually to try and, as I say, re-educate and open their minds a little bit to those softer skills and how important they are at the more junior levels, especially if you're onboarding people remotely and virtually as well. That's one of the key challenges that a lot of managers have said to us over lockdown is how are we going to onboard somebody that needs that mentoring approach? They need coaching, they need to see they need to see their leader leading by example. It's an opportunity to really highlight the importance of those softer skills and that attitude towards work. So that's really encouraging to hear. And as you say, especially from a company like Booking.com, that's a great example. And hopefully there are others in the same, privileged position where they can offer a volume of opportunity to that kind of part of the market. So brilliant. Well, last question for me today. Booking.com is probably one of them, but would love to hear from you, from your perspective, again, from your experience, Precious, which companies you really admire from a kind of tech and data perspective at the moment?
So rightly, definitely one of them. I didn't actually know how big the company was until we started speaking to them, and they have a lot of subsidiaries under them, and they just hire so many people, and there's so many parts to it, and it is a really, really intricate system when you really think about it. So that's one of them. Another one for me would be Salesforce. So I use Salesforce at my job at Leninvest. I lead on all of the Salesforce projects, and I've really, really come to love it. It's such an amazing software, like honestly, from the ease of building to the ease of collecting and storing data, and now they've got their integrations and stuff with Tableau, because they've just acquired Tableau. It just makes building out that CRM experience and gaining that 360 view of your customer so much easier. And the previous problem of having data across so many different systems and, you know, having issues with like duplicate data and things like that just are so much easier to manage with this software, because you're not having to worry about the details of building everything from scratch, because it's so drag and drop, and because it's got so many like automations and functions that you can use really easily. It just makes managing data, especially customer data, way easier. And I really, really admire how they've managed to do that through a SaaS software, and the fact that it's so easily accessible. I really like it. I love it.
This is not an ad, by the way.
And another company I admire for their data, I would say probably, it's going to sound so cliche, but I would say Google.
I knew you were going to say Google.
We've been doing a lot of work lately around marketing and ads and stuff like that, and we've been using both Google and Facebook to do those things, and working with Google is so much easier, and the way that they've approached being able to understand your data in terms of building your dashboards and stuff like that is so easy. And it's really, really great, because it puts so much power in your hands that really before we all of this data has been available to us from the beginning of time. We've just never known what to do with it, right?
Yeah.
And it's having tools that allow you to know what to do with your data and allow you to, you know, and kind of prompt you to do things that I find really, really cool. And a lot of the tools that they have allow you to do that really easily. So yeah, I admire them for that reason.
Brilliant. Good. Well, look, it's been so great talking to you, Precious. I really appreciate your time today. And we'll pop some links into the video when we put this out for Career Ear. Please, everybody go and check it out. It's just, as I say, a genuinely inspiring proposition, and looks like it's going in all the right directions. You've got some amazing engagement from what look like great partners. So I wish you the best of luck with that. And as I say, thanks again for spending some time with us today. It's been brilliant.
Awesome. Thank you for having me.